Did you know that uncontrolled bleeding can result in death in as little as 5 to 10 minutes? I'm basically talking about as long as this interview is going to last, which means what do you do first when first responders can't arrive right away? That is going to be very critical. Dr. Andrew Tang and Susan Kincaid are here to tell us about the free training available to any of us through the Stop the Bleed Coalition. You guys, thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start out with this initiative altogether. How did this start?
That's a great question. In recent years, we've seen a huge increase in mass shooting events, just like the ones that happened last week.
Yep.
Through every post-action analysis, the authorities have realized that there were lives lost that could have been prevented, in the sense that it was a warm zone or hot zone where EMS can't get to the scene and save the people immediately because of the potential danger that still exists. And so there are victims who unfortunately passed away as a result of hemorrhage. And so with that knowledge, knowing that there had been people lost who could have been saved, the national authorities in both hospital, the surgeons, pre-hospital care, as well as law enforcement got together and created this campaign. It's a national campaign to empower the average citizens on the very basic, simple maneuvers to stop the hemorrhage, maneuvers that anyone can do.
And you're saying anyone can do. Is there any age that is too young to learn these kind of skills?
That's a good question. I've got a 9-year-old daughter. I know she can do it.
Oh.
Now, Susan has recently taught a course.
Yeah, so we taught the Boy Scouts, and some of those were as young as 10 years old. Like you'll see as we show you, pretty much anybody can do it, and it's a thing that can save a life.
And we were just talking about that. As long as it's going to take us to do this interview, that's that small window of opportunity to do this. And we have great resources right here in our own backyard that are going to be able to kind of get involved and teach us. I know we're talking about Banner UMC and the fact that they're a Trauma 1. Is that correct?
That's right.
What makes them a Trauma 1?
Great question. So we are a American College of Surgeons verified level 1 trauma center.
Okay.
And what that means is we have every equipment, subspecialty available 24/7 to take care of the most traumatically injured patient. That means we have a surgeon that's in-house 24/7. We have anesthesia. We have an operating room that's available to me within 5 minutes. Yeah. We have a blood bank with multiple units of blood. We have interventional radiology. We have orthopedic surgeons, etc. This is something that we have at a moment's notice to come and respond to a patient. So that's what makes us a level 1 trauma center.
Well, let's also do I know we're going to talk about the training, but let's do a little bit of that here so we can get a little bit of knowledge out there. What I always think about when we're talking about uncontrolled bleeding is a tourniquet. What necessarily is a tourniquet? I just know the word.
Okay, great question. Yeah, so a tourniquet, if you will, is basically a loop.
Okay. And
it's a compression device, if you will. It had been around for a long, long time. Would you like me to demonstrate?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So let's say that Susan has a laceration. She's working in the garage and cut her arm very deeply, which it's something we literally see on a monthly basis. Okay, so a tourniquet, you put this loop around the arm. It's Velcroed. So we pull on it tight. The Velcro applies to itself. Now, this is not tight enough to control any hemorrhage yet. This is called the windlass, this winding device. And as I start to turn this device, the tourniquet will start to constrict even further, right? And now the blood flow that's coming from the heart down through this big artery into the arm is going to be compressed. And no more blood can get through the tourniquet once it's compressed.
So you put the tourniquet between where the heart would be pumping the blood and wherever the wound is.
Exactly.
Okay.
We put it proximal or above the level of the wound. Now, once I wind the windlass, there's a catch device to keep it in place. I know this is probably hurting her right now. So anyway,
But you need it tight.
You need it tight.
Yeah.
It's supposed to hurt.
Right. It will hurt when the tourniquet is applied properly, but at the same time, it's a life-saving device.
Absolutely, Susan. Thank you so much for being our person to show that on. I'm going to tell everybody when this free training is and how they can get involved with this. But of course, there is so much, even what you do when we don't have a tourniquet, that's all going to be covered in this training course. You guys, thank you so much for coming in and giving us a little bit of education.
Absolutely.
So with our courses, aside from the one that's coming up in December, we do, if there are groups in the community, we've done neighborhood groups, like I said, scouting groups, shooting clubs. If anybody is interested in having their own class, class. Us, along with other members of the Southern Arizona Stop the Bleed Coalition, made up of police officers, fire department, first responders, we can put together a class for you. So
even beyond this one.
Absolutely.
So that's great knowledge, and I'll give them the phone number so that they can set that up if that is something you definitely should do. Now, the Stop the Bleed event that we're talking about is taking place on December 6th from 10 a.m. to noon at the Banner University Medical Center Dining Room E and F. To learn more, call 520-694-4713 or email susan.kincaid@bannerhealth.com.